It is time to kick off the second half of week number 9, stage 3, Quake Pro League. My name's Ketchup, joined by ZSX today. And up next, it's DUEL up against dramis. What do we make of it?
Interesting. I think Dewey's on the up curve and Dramis is more or less plateaued in terms of results and progression. So it's definitely a test. I think Dramis was cited as the up and coming guy in NA, but results haven't backed that up. His playstyle is pretty well rounded. Just I guess there's something missing from it. Whereas Dewey's definitely taken a huge step up. Aim looks great. Strategy's developing week on week. He still owns his own segment of unique play styles and can fall back on his traditional super hyper defensive play, but he's definitely offering a lot more than he was in previous weeks, and it's a joy to watch.
I'm excited for the picks and bans. We can go through that, of course. The first map being Molten Falls, Blood Run up next, and then Awoken being the final pick. I think we actually get quite a interesting demonstration and almost like an example of both players with the Molten Falls, because we get the Scale Bearer coming out from DUEL, and then we have, of course, the Slash for dramis, which is absolutely one of, if not his star champion. We just see, actually, particularly on this map, actually, Molten Falls and Slash with dramis is quite the comfort zone at this point, this far in. And it's always just a treat watching a good Scale Bearer, especially on a map like this, again, where those tight corridors can be really punishing on some of the important item locations, like the Mega and Heavy, but also just a lot of room to build up that speed. So I'm very excited to see map number 1.
I think it's a champion that's slightly underutilized, but it's definitely Dewey's go-to pick. If he can pick a Scale Bearer, he'll pick a Scale Bearer. So much utility, incredibly fast, amazing stack, and therefore buffer against being out of position or getting caught off guard. So it's such a safe pick, I think, more than anything.
Absolutely. And if you can go with a safe pick first, it's fair to say there's probably a safe pick on both ends, thanks to the Slash pick from dramis. He really relishes those crouch sliders, and it allows him to truly thrive. It's why we actually see it picked twice, because on Awoken, he's going in with a Strug and Pika as well. Other champions we have to expect, and it's pretty much mobility central, because on the second map, Blood Run, we also see dramis go out with the Athena, so that's going to be quite a sight to see. And he's going movement all the way, whereas if you're in DUEL's shoes, it's a lot more just brute force, because we have the Scale Bearer, we have the Galena on Blood Run, and then we have the Doomslayer on Awoken.
I agree with that. I mean, dramis, kind of like Tox, he likes to play at speed, he likes to be aggressive, he likes to get in your face, whereas DUEL, as we all know, prefers to play positional. He likes to have the security of the stack or the defensive options at his beck and call if anything goes awry, and you can fall back on that and just slow the pace down, whereas it's a lot more difficult to do that on a lighter champion. So that's why he definitely favors those foothold big monsters.
So we're loading in Molten Falls, map number 1. It's going to be DUEL versus dramis. Starting off, checking out DUEL, and almost immediately look at the armor difference.
Yep, that's the power of the Scale Bearer. When you spawn with such a large starting stack, it really comes into play. You can be super aggressive off the spawn. You can overcommit for items with the security that you spawn way more than you leave your opponent's health on.
Ooh, opening rail. We can't forget the natural downside to the large champions is the fact they are much easier to hit. And dramis' aim, certainly nothing to shy away from. So in this kind of matchup, dramis is likely to hit quite a few of these shots. But DUEL, even going back to the very first play on this map, the fact that he pushed out first, knowing that he had the safety net to draw back on of the Mega, he starts with a bunch of armor. It allowed him to kind of go for that automatic, aggressive play. I mean, obviously nothing came from it. However, the idea is always there, and that's what the stack difference allows you to go for.
And DUEL, obviously, we know, plays and lives and dies by audio cues. So he will just walk around the map trying to listen at what his opponent's doing. But at the same notion, when you are playing incredibly quiet, it forces your opponent to be equally as quiet, which is why we often see such low-scoring games when it comes to DUEL.
And he's keeping that forward momentum. It's the element of Scale Bearer. This guy doesn't need to strafe jump around to build up the speed and that immediate rail. And That, for me, is a respectful and actually potentially a fake rocket jump near that angle, but a respectful plasma trail because Dewey had the bull rush available, could have chased, and dramis, if there's even a 1% chance he was going to get rushed there, he had to escape.
Yeah, I was slightly surprised Dewey didn't push in there, but at the same time, Dewey is incredibly risk averse, so often only goes for plays that have the much higher probability behind them. Nice rail.
Make or
Dramis.
break rail, potentially.
Yeah, dramis does have a good stack though, and you're right, he could have probably pushed in if Dewey didn't hit that rail, which he did.
Speedy scale bearer. Never get tired of watching it. Puts himself in a good position. But unfortunately, yeah, a couple of those missed shots is going to mean he has to disengage. He knows the Mega's about to appear, so they can kind of, trade that one off. But yeah, it's the lack of armor. That's going to be what's scary here for Dewey. Takes a whole bunch of damage, and it's likely to be a done deal. dramis snaps up frag number 1. And it all comes down to that armor.
A very clean one. You always got to be careful trying to spawn frag a scale bearer because of that starting stack, but nevertheless, when you do get a clean frag as a champion such dependent on momentum as they are, it can be very scary. Okay.
I'm never going to get tired of it, Zenesex. I'm never going to get tired of it. It's probably because I'm not the one playing, but I like it.
That would frustrate the hell out of me.
That's one of those things where you just go... But fortunately, plenty of time to recover. The danger is that it cost Dewey basically no resources!
Wow.
Even though he took a buttload of damage in that fight. He's likely to get beaten to the punch when it comes to this Mega. Doesn't quite hit the rails, so he's going to have to dip. It's a very stressful game because they both have the same idea. It's just who's going to be that second closer. Dewey is not interested in taking any risks yet. Gets some opening damage, but yeah, that missed rail. It goes back to that risk calculation you talked about where Dewey misses a single rail, he is immediately out of there.
Yeah.
If he thinks that rail is not going to hit it, or sorry, if the rail doesn't hit its mark, he has no interest in sticking around. Again, hanging back, using the back end of that ledge just to make the rail a little bit harder to hit its mark. Aggressive plasma trail. Not a lot of damage yet. Bull rush activated just to survive, but he gets juggled!
Nice.
Easy knock-up for dramis and the clean execution to finish the job. I like it. Uh-oh. That's a lot of damage and no weapons to work with. Fresh off the spawn, Dewey. Gonna be worried about that one. Dramis' position, he's consistently been in a better position to get the heavy here. So once again, it's going to spawn. Doesn't want to pile too hard in just yet, though. It's still evenly split, but the surprise rocket is used, but it's not enough. Dramis has long sped around the corner. And there was no damage to be done. If that rocket hit its mark, maybe that fight would have been different, but it's testament to Dramis' insanely fast movement. Dewey did try and spring a trap, but he just couldn't get a gauge on it.
No, we've seen the vulnerability of the scale bearer against the speed of the slash, and dramis is doing a great job of capitalizing upon that advantage he has so far, and he's not overextending either, which I like.
And the bull rush has had no presence, I suppose, in this entire map. We've used a couple of times to try and stay alive, but certainly never in a position to be used aggressively because the plasma trail. Speaking of bull rush, though, it's not going to do anything to damage scale bearer. Plasma trail.
That would have been really nice.
Heavy is the play again, but once again, Dewey is trying to hold the higher ground on the heavy. As this is the moment he finally goes in. Dramis. I think he knows that every time the heavy has spawned, Dewey has been extremely reserved. So Dramis has simply kind of just tried to bully his way up there to get the damage, and then he doubles back to get the heavy.
Yeah, exactly. He's making sure he's trying to hit that and the opening rail before getting the items, which I really like. But it's still, again, 2 to 3. This is what Dewey does masterfully. He just somehow stays alive the entire time.
And now he's dropping down. Slightly different position on the heavy this time, though. Normally he sits near jump pad. I'm wondering if this position is going to give him a bit of an edge. Does manage to get access to a rail. Nothing Dramis is going to be too upset with yet. And just look at the speed and movement of Slash, how quickly Dramis can position himself to be near Mega.
Yeah, and that's what we always talk about with Slash, is that he can get you in positions quicker to hit easier shots and more shots. But Dramis' execution today has been a little bit off. Missing some shots I would have expected him to hit as well. But DUE's not making any moves at the moment to get on items. He just wants to try and hit one shot every time on the exit.
Actually, the fact that DUE was going full speed in that example too. Normally he's quite patient towards heavy. Likely he was being a bit more reserved because it actually spawned in that time, but
this is another area of development from DUE, I think, is that traditionally I think he would have not made any presence on the map, whereas now he definitely always tries to be relevant on item pickups, which supports his playstyle.
And even if you look at what might be an unfavorable stack for a scale bearer, all it takes is one bull rush to set up and knock down. He gets so much damage, all while taking very little. However, now the pressure's on, because Dramis has full control over this map. He has a massive stack to work with. He has loads of ammo and all the weapons. And a plasma trail, which means there's an immense amount of pressure on DUE to finally make something happen, because he's been reserved and he hasn't given up too many frags, and that is the DUE that we know and love. However, he's running out of time, and he doesn't necessarily have the movement to catch. He has to try and spring a trap, and there's loads of pressure to hit these shots. Doesn't manage to hit the first one. Mega is about to spawn, but this Dramis going to use this to get free damage. Looks like he will. Can't hit the second rail, though, so it's not enough to make DUE sweat just yet. And he has a good stack. Heavy is next on the agenda. Does Dramis sit and control it? Does he have the confidence? He's looking to get some opening damage first, and he hits a absolute ton of it. And the bull rush has to be used to escape. Dramis using it to get access to the heavy, surely. Yeah, it's finally been taken. DUE survives, though. But we have to keep...
He's a survivor, so he dies.
Oh, that rocket flew right past his face.
1 minute warning.
Hang on. He has a trap. Super shotgun. The ultimate, no! He made the ultimate play to get the SSG and he got damaged, but a clumsy rocket to walk into after all that work.
I mean, DUE was forced into a situation with only a minute to go, but it was pretty unlucky as that full damage to come out there.
And now, not really much that can be done. The plasma trail was popped. He's going to try and escape here. If DUE can get some miracle rails, maybe, but I mean, it's just the movement. He can't get an angle. He can't get a position. He has to go up the jump pad and
Nice.
line and sinker with Dramis with that play. The movement was the key to this entire map, and Dramis just ran rings around DUE here. DUE wasn't really able to establish himself. I mean, he gave it a good go, but that movement was too hot to handle.
You win.
Yeah, I think the speed was incredible. Dramis maximized that potential. The problem for DUE always is when he's on the back foot is getting relevancy on the map. That's why Scalebearer is such a good pick for him, because he always has a good stack. But at the same time, when you finish a map with two heavies, it's always a tough ask to come up against any opponent. So you have to play perfectly, and Dramis did the basics and did what he needed to do.
And yeah, I was looking at the end game stats, literally, right as you mentioned that it was the complete lack of heavy presence and DUE not really wanting to commit when those situations break out, because you just look at the speed, right? You jump down, there's a plasma trail ready to go, you take a bunch of damage on the way in, because Dramis was always holding that position. You know, every time the heavy was there, it was almost a rerun up until the last couple of minutes where DUE finally, continued his forward momentum and flew right over. That was it took about 8 minutes for DUE to finally do something different around heavy. So Dramis was like next level comfortable to just sit, get the damage, wait for the fight, get the heavy, zip in and out. And
yeah, Dramis, for me, he could play better than that as well. I felt his aim was a little bit off from what I've seen in previous weeks. And so to do that and just do the fundamentals and do what he needed to do, just felt like he understood exactly the process to beat DUE in that matchup.
Well, we're going in for a change of pace now, as our next map is going to be Blood Run. But the champions interest me. We're going in with a very DUE pick with the Glader. Makes total sense. But kind of running the themes of high-octane, high-speed champions, we're going to see Dramis go in with an Athena. Now, Athena does bring a similar vibe to this map as a ranger. You know, that instant kind of verticality is
Yeah.
super important. But Dramis, I mean, he thrives when he has speed, when he has fast champions. But Blood Run, it's naturally a little bit harder to play that kind of open game because, I mean, you naturally have less space to move around, right? It's a lot more teleport heavy as well. So I'm wondering if this map is going to be that kind of breath of fresh air that Dewey needs and has been looking for, because the speed just completely, he could not get a footing at all. So,
No, I think so. I mean, as you say, Blood Run incredibly defensive. The problem for Dramis is the first frag. I think if you give Dewey the first frag on a map like this, your life can become a bit of a misery. So it's making sure that those initial engagements are very calculated, and you're going to have to take a step back almost to play more methodical. But with anything, if you play very smart basic Quake against Dewey, I think you can always stand a good chance because he doesn't do enough a lot of the time to pressure you. He's got a lot better at it, but it always means you get a good foothold and chance on the map. So I don't fear too much for Dramis.
he does get a pretty popular Dewey spawn, right, where he's got a position for rail, and he gets the rail. But now, yeah, the objective is, let's get more weapons first. He has a massive difference in the armor so far. That's naturally, you know, just thanks to the start and what we've been able to establish here. But Dewey, once again, he's going in for that slow movement. And with that rail in hand, can spring some opening damage if he wants to get it. Swaps to the rail. He does actually have the trap sprung. However, the missed rail, that's the danger of this kind of play, where you play the slow, methodical play of, you know, defense. If you're missing the rails, you're kind of losing out on your position, and then you can't punish. So it's like, if Dewey's, I'm actually going to go quickly check, because I'm very curious about this. He's fired a bunch of rails, and he's only hit one of the 6.
Oh no! Bounce!
Ouch.
That's what Athena can do. She can get in your face. She can distort combat. It was really unfortunate for Dewey to be bounced so high off the ground, but end of the day,
Dramis would not have been as comfortable to go for that aggression had Dewey actually hit some rails. That's one of the dangers, that he's playing this strong position game, but when he has the rail angle, he's missed consistently. And while Dramis is running around soaking up all of these items, Dewey is kind of left with almost nothing to work with, except for a rail, which he's missing. So it's putting a lot of pressure now on Dewey, I think, to really kind of tighten up that execution. Gets a good play on the hook, but can he make it count? He has to be very careful now with only 30 HP. Okay, Totem's going to get dropped. Heavy still ready to go, but Dramis picks the angle again. The rail misses its mark. Almost a direct out of nowhere would have made it a 2-0 for Dramis, but Dewey's still alive, but barely. Very little to work with here. He's going to get one light. He's going to get a little bit of ammo. But now Dramis just maintaining his presence and control over this map consistently with a higher stack.
yeah, Dewey's life is very hard. He's had 1 heavy, 0 megas, 3 lights. As we say every game, like, there's nothing you can do when you don't have items. It's the same problem Tox had for large periods of the game against base.
Death is the only
You're just running from your opponent. You're not really playing.
Another one of those plays. Dewey's trying to keep himself at a safe distance. He's trying to get
What
some
a shot!
How he even found that angle is insane to me. He hit the top of the helmet right there. Extra information thanks to the totem. Heavy is the next objective here. Dramis arguably in a better position, but it's that speed of the hook. It makes those kind of punish shots and those plays where you just, you know, you catch the juggle perhaps. You can't get it. You can't do it anywhere near as effectively. With the grappling hook being as unpredictable and as fast as it is. Now that's a rail you don't want to eat. Dewey, I mean, he can tank a rail at this health, but Dramis has too much armor. It's too much of a risk.
Yeah.
Looking for the shot. Unfortunately misses the rail that would establish some pressure. But he keeps his lead all the same. Oh,
Nice.
looks for the rail but can't land it. Finally, Dewey gets something unreturned and they trade! Who's going to get the spawn? Looks like it's going to be Dramis. Oh no, what a spawn for Dramis!
He also has the grapples to get in quicker as well. Yeah,
He got all the
dramis.
weapons.
He maintains his good foothold on the map. He knows he can push in because Dewey's limited weaponry, but fortunately for Dewey, he does back off at the right time.
Yeah, that was an amazing spawn for Dramis. The grappling hook let him get the LG, let him get a rocket, he got a rail. Without even having to really try, he has all of the weapons that he needs to keep the pressure on. And now Dewey's looking for that defensive teleport position. The danger is that by doing this, Dramis is now in a way better position for the heavy. And with 6 seconds on this heavy, it looks like once more Dramis is looking to bully his way across. Just
That's
to push
the thing. The dilemma Dewey's in is he's only really trying to trap Dramis, but he's trying to trap him in areas where Dramis is forced to attack, whereas Dramis is realizing that he doesn't need to attack. So why would he push into, say, the light armor room when he knows that Dewey's waiting in there for a trap? And if he does, then Dewey has to hit twice as much damage because he has no stack to work with.
Tries to catch a little bit of that defensive rocket.
Nice.
The knock up again, but Dewey with the capitalization. Actually kind of catching Dramis, the knock up against him. It seemed very much like he didn't actually know where Dewey had been knocked up. And while he's trying to figure out where he's gone, he gets hit by a rail and dies immediately, making it a 2-2. And that's the sound indicating the heavy. Now, if you're in Dramis' shoes now, you've got to slow things down a bit because now Dewey has the control, he has the stack, and now the traps become likely.
You can't catch me now.
Wow, saves his skin with 3 HP to work with. And even with all of these lights, it's 53 to 50. That's not really much to write home about. Thankfully for Dramis, there's plenty of lights left on this map, but his biggest issue here is lack of weapons. That entire time ZSX, he only had a starting machine gun.
That was Dramis definitely needed to do more, and that's really nice, but needed to do more to get onto that weaponry earlier. This is what I mean, like, it just feels like he didn't have a plan when you're walking this slowly, so you need to be more objective focused. It's always difficult playing against Dewey when he needs to slow the pace down because you don't know where he is. He takes up such weird positions, but Dewey looking much more natural now we have the lead.
And looking a lot more comfortable, which is something that you can be worried about. The more comfortable a player feels, the better their aim tends to be, the more on it their decisions tend to be. That quick little grappling hook to squeeze past and just quickly steal that heavy away. A nice little steal, actually, and Dramis not punished very heavily for it either, so that's a pretty big success. And 100 from that range. What a magical rocket that was. Tri-bolt damage, but the stack is still insane. Dewey gets the frag anyway.
Yeah, unlucky by Dramis. Now he's in for a real tough task now. Dewey's got the lead, but that's really nice.
Misses the shot! What a trade! If he didn't miss that first super shotgun blast at a sex, that would not have been a trade. Looking for the rail. Oh, didn't pull the trigger. Didn't quite believe in the shot. And now Dewey trying very hard to shut this one down. They disengage, and there's the opening rail. Likely should be a frag.
Watching Athena sometimes.
Just the crispy little bits of combat, isn't it? The rail, and then the grappling hook, and then the super shotgun. It's like, oh, so clean. That should be a relatively free heavy for Dramis. But now we're Dewey. Dewey's try. Oh, man, that did so much damage. Flat 100 right there. Fair to assume Dramis taking all these items because Dewey is now allowing it. I do worry, though, that he's given up a bit too much too early.
Dewey,
We have 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, this is he never looks entirely comfortable. This is his form of defense. I mean, it's definitely not my preference, but that's the way he likes to play. But he's gone super defense now.
And he's giving full control to Athena. My concern is that we have a Galena who can't move versus one of the absolute most mobile champions in the game on every level. It's not just speed, it's being able to go where you want. And this chase! The LG from Dewey!
Was real.
We just talk about mobility. How about mobility guaranteeing a free chain of LG? Oh, he teleports! I can't believe he used it.
Oh.
I genuinely cannot believe Dewey went through that teleporter. Normally, Dewey would wait until he jumped down.
Yeah, that was really unnecessary. It's a common move just to stand there and spam it.
We'll see if he gets punished. potentially a map losing mistake. It depends on how dramas can capitalize, because again, DUEL playing on the teleporters, but look how quickly Athena can land a rail and then reposition to where you have just teleported, and then have grappling hooks left to chase. Great read on the movement. Defensive shots are going to have to be money, and it looks like, I mean, that was one rocket short of being perfect. Wow, DUEL's defensive rockets have been life-saving. And now he's going to chase it down, but DUEL has the angle. He has the defensive shots as well. He has, as long as he keeps his rocket count nice and high, he should very well be able to survive for 30 seconds. dramis, only one grappling hook to chase with, though. Uses it for the speed, but misses the rail. Goes in for another one, the last one remaining, but looked a little bit like he potentially mistimed the heavy.
Yeah, and I think DUEL's done enough now to win this. I don't think there's anything dramis can do to catch him.
Yeah, especially at this angle where you're right up top and he's down near LG. You can't chase in time at all. Even though that rail landed.
Only DUEL. 2 heavies, 6 megas. It's incredible sometimes what he pulls out, and it's just the way he plays is so unorthodox. It catches even the best off guard.
And actually, I'd like to mention that DUEL's rail accuracy, 5 shots out of 26. Like, his rails were awful, like, for lack of a better term. Yet, it is just his own unique approach. That
He had damaged dramis.
If you look at, I know a big star player there was LG, thanks to just great predictions on movement too. But if you look at some of those stats without seeing the end game result, you would have been like, oh, that must have been a, obviously without looking at damage, which is a pretty big indicator. But some of the small stats, if you looked at them, you would have assumed that DUEL probably lost that convincingly.
Yeah, 100%. That's
But
the way he plays.
it's why I love DUEL though, because it's so like 1 out of a million. Like, it just, no one else plays. I think it is for better or worse, I suppose. No one else really plays like DUEL. So when you play against DUEL or you watch it, it's just weird, a weird approach. But
because it shouldn't work. And it's not a great sign. Like, it's his style, it fits him great, but it's not a great sign when a lot of these games you go, how did you win that? Like, that's the feeling I get when I come out of a lot of these games where he's won. But at the end of the day, like we say every week, like, he keeps every game close. That's one of his superpowers, is he can remain hidden and keep every game close. And as we say, if you do that, then you're always going to be in for a shout. Because all it takes is one wacky engagement, or, you know, a freaky dire orb, or whatever it is, and suddenly the game turns on its head.
yeah, but this is kind of my point though, because it is this clash of styles we talk about that it works for DUEL, and it's enough to keep him comfortable on the leaderboards and slowly climb, and take out some players that are pretty damn prominent at the same time. Thing is, DUEL and dramis, before we go into our final map, which will be Awoken Strog versus Doomslayer, DUEL and dramis are right next to each other on the global leaderboards. DUEL is 13th and dramis is 14th. DUEL has 194 and dramis has 190. The thing is, I'm looking at the frags. dramis has 779 frags, and DUEL has 241.
That's
like,
crazy.
It's like you can just look at the stats and you can see without looking at a single second of gameplay that this is like a complete polar opposite of each other effect. Even down to the champion picks. dramis has gone full speed. DUEL has gone opposite of full speed, but very, very like utility focused. Like, you know, either whether it's reduction of something, whether it's like a damage source, something that lets him dig his heels in and just be DUEL, you know? Like, I'm interested to see if we see almost a complete repeat of that on this final map. Remember, it's 1-1, quite important for both these players. Whoever gets that win, that inch over the other player. It's always nice to watch players go head to head when they're this close on the leaderboards, but good luck, have fun.
Fight.
Well, this is probably the most standard meta we could ever see. A Doom versus a Strong on Awoken.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it won't play out that way.
Oh, DUEL, give him mobility. And Doomslayer's mobility on this map comes from that double jump to go really, truly where you want, when you want. But DUEL, more likely to use that in his own way. So I'm excited to see if he plays Doom. in an orthodox way or not. And he already sets up that angle, catching dramis completely off guard. That was a wonderful rocket, and there was a 0% chance Dewey was ready for that.
Double jumps into the rocket.
Looking for more rail shots. Doesn't quite hit the mark. Looking for the angle again, all the while playing the retreat game. The stack's pretty standard, though. Combine the natural armor build. Ooh, nice little defensive double jump as well, just to put himself out of harm's way. LG as well. And he's been able to strong arm himself into a better position to get this heavy. And he's looking for a bit of free damage first. If Dewey can damage at the same time, yeah, there's a pretty big delay in between. He's actually eyeing up that heavy first. Kamikaze's used, but it's still nothing that makes dramis comfortable for heavy. This should be a trade now. Heavy gets taken. Can Dewey prevent a free rail? Yeah, okay. We get a trade situation.
That's just the way he likes to play, but I felt he could have taken the Mega and got in time to set up for the heavy, but he'd rather set up a trap instead. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Not surprised to see Dewey sit within the top middle of this map, a very common defensive point. You get a lot of audio cues. And, oh, Dewey's just looking for that magic moment. You know, he's looking for that rail. He's looking for that opening shot. A little bit of damage done, but again, we're going to go for a pretty traditional trade-off here for both items. Looks like dramis had the right idea that Dewey was probably going to try and get the light armor, but not really in a position to capitalize or punish. Free rail on that Pika. Feels like 2 minutes have happened, but I will be honest, at SX, not a lot has happened in those 2 minutes.
No, not a lot at all. Less than 500 damage each.
Oh, that's a rocket. Certainly something that could start. Oh, I got to get out of there, man. Can't eat those tri-bolts and that aggressive teleport. And that was either going to be a suicide or a frag for dramis. Either way, there's going to be one frag in between the two. And it just came down to that one rocket. Dewey was playing for that opening damage. Unfortunately, he was the one that was on the wrong end of it. And it gave dramis that opening to just aggress and be as aggressive as he wants to be. Now contains a lovely amount of control over this map. He has a massive stack difference. He's in a better position again for this Mega. And without a rail too, Dewey, it's going to be hard for him to really establish anything. He's been playing so, like, not rail heavy. I almost wonder. Dewey's missed a fair few rails on this map too, and his rail accuracy on the previous map was not very good. I almost fear that he's not accurate in his rail to the point where he's just not using it.
It's entirely possible. I think you said before, having spoken to him, he does play a lot off of his feeling for his aim, so could well be if he's not feeling it, he would just rather plus back, but
we do see some rails come through. Unfortunately, they are returned by dramis, and Dewey, even at this stack, is railable. Has to sit pretty and wait for the light, but dramis knows. Surely he must have had timing on this room for some of those light armors, or those light items, because it was a fair while since he last picked it up, and Dewey did go there last time to try and recharge. That was a confident push from dramis, and wait a minute. What?
Did he just double jump over 2 or 3 rockets?
He must have done. The Doomslayer, that's like the whole benefit of the champion. Like, he's exceptionally strong against Rocket, but horrifically weak to LG. In that case, I guess he was just Mario Bros jumping over those rockets right there. But there's still plenty of this map to work with. But dramis, ooh, a bit of an opening rocket damage here. But if you're Dewey, we're going to chunk back up. Has audio on the light armor, so he knows full well where dramis is likely to be. But dramis kind of keeping him away from the rail. I quite like this. He's very low on LG ammo too. He only has 38 cells, so finally Dewey's going to get a chance to get a rail. Oh no, doesn't value it. Instead, he wants to try and catch him off guard instead. I feel like it's very hard to play these defensive angles though without a rail. I'm quite worried about his lack of it. dramis. I love his position so far. Feels like Dewey's the one that's trying to sprint.
Nice.
Watch out! Almost went through the window. Ooh!
5-minute warning.
Yeah, no rocket damage. dramis, the speed. Almost ZSX shades of map 1, actually. The crouch slide just being a thorn in Dewey's side today.
Yeah, it's, as we say, it's probably the most powerful thing in Duel is that speed.
dramis just consistently putting himself in a position where he can afford to take these rails. Like, Dewey is trying to play quite rail heavy with these angles, but dramis is totally content taking it, because often, even though he's getting hit, he can still pile in and damage you more. Looking for more of these shots. Missing rail after rail. It has not been his best friend today by any stretch. And dramis, I mean, I think we've even reached a point where he's aware. He knows he's taking no rails. And even when he does, it's like one rail here and there. Nothing to write home about. So he's just being aggressive as anything.
Well, that's what he knows he needs to do. Dewey's not getting any items once again. So as soon as dramis does any damage, he knows he can push in because he can fall back on the items. He can restack. And generally, he's just got a much bigger stack than Dewey anyway. So he's making that count.
That rocket narrowly misses its mark there for Dewey, but it doesn't matter. Hesitant to even take down this Pika, because if you miss at this health, it's a world of hurt for sure. And a green light for dramis to aggress on you again. Feels like dramis has just had the more consistent hold, but that's a nice little two-piece. Problem is, he's taken a bunch of damage himself. A direct into a rail, you'd think that would be a wonderful opening, but dramis is hitting so much return damage at every turn. He surprises dramis, but again,
nice.
the damage! Damage is not there. Here comes dramis again, taking a bunch of machine gun. I mean, if there was any other weapon available to Dewey, dramis probably would have died, but because it just spawned, he only had a machine gun.
Yeah, we can see Dewey getting desperate, obviously being 7 frags behind now, forced to take a far more aggressive stance than he would like to, and you can see he's not entirely comfortable when doing so.
dramis is just his placement on these initial rockets. I mean, there's not been a single fight this entire map really where Dewey has had the stack advantage. Dewey has been the one that's comfortable with these highly defensive plays that we see players go for. It's because they're trying to take fights on their terms, but when's the last time Dewey had a fight on this map that he was happy about? Oh, the stack as well. I feel like we've already reached the point of no return to the sex. I'm just looking at the stack difference and how long it's taking Dewey to even mount anything. I just don't think it can be done. dramis is just doing everything too right. Dewey stuck with 1 HP here. dramis just needs to sneeze on him at this point, and he's going to go down.
Yeah, but it's not the end of the world to leave him alive either, because then you can sweep up all the items and still have time to pressure him.
Yep, that's exactly what dramis is doing. Who cares about going in now? And even that rail would have put him on 10. Like, scary business. Dewey's running for his life and at the same time trying to squeeze in any rail he can, but it's always too little too late. It's never enough damage to matter. Bit more of these shots trying to come through, but at this point, very much a victory lap for dramis, who is going to be very happy, I think, with this result today.
100%, yeah. I think, once again, we said it, we're 2-1. Played out as such this map, as we said. Much more meta picks. Very difficult map to play as slow as Dewey normally does on as well. And I think it's showing a little bit. Blood Run, he played really, really great and showed glimpses of when he's in control. New vigor, if you will. Lots of aggression, getting in dramis' face, and I think he just needs to do more of that.
It's just this, when this clash of styles happens the way it does, you go on a map like Awoken and you kind of worry about it a little bit. When you look at the champion picks, and it's like, yes, Doomslayer has actually got the great movement on this map. I'm just looking at how often dramis was like sliding around a corner or sliding into a position that got him the opening damage that Dewey couldn't capitalize on or do anything about. Like, when Dewey's hitting some opening damage here, it's barely anything. When dramis hits it, it was hundreds here. Like rails, stuff that really hit home. And that's all she wrote. Dewey is going to go down. Unfortunately, on this map, unable to get a single frag. Can he at least... Even that was denied from him. That's a feels bad man moment, if ever.
11 to -1 does never feel good. dramis played perfect. Showed us how powerful he can be on champions like Slash and Strog. Like, speed is definitely his friend, and Dewey struggles against that because it doesn't allow him to position well, to build his stack. You can get in his face a lot, so it's definitely one of the keys to unlocking Dewey. But it's also, as we said, it's dramis' biggest strength.
Huge damage output coming out from Dramis as well. We look at the control. It was kind of almost actually the running theme of the entire series, even in the blood run that Dewey was able to win, is that armor. Like, if there was one thing that Dewey just didn't ever get and Dramis was just running away with, it was heavy armor. I looked at the stat difference again, ridiculously in Dramis's favor. Even back into Molten Fools, it was just the constant armor in these fights, and the fact that Dramis was hitting those like insane kind of prediction rockets, the rockets that open things up, and then Dewey's kind of stuck in a bad spot. Dewey was playing almost too slow by the end of it, perhaps, with just the way Dramis was cycling the map and just didn't even look challenged. From the first second until the 10th minute, Dramis, like, he controlled that whole map.
100%. And I think we say it a lot. When Dewey loses, there's so many things you can point out. When he wins, you have to praise his playstyle. But there definitely needs to be this balance to improve that consistency to make sure he can capitalize upon when he's in control, as well as really have a good standing foot when he's not in control. I think that's the deficiency, is that he can't or hasn't found a way yet to maintain presence on the defense. And when you don't have as many items as that, the win percentage for you is always going to be much lower. You need the items to win, Duel.
Yeah, and in regards to Dewey too, that this is the bizarre thing, is that it almost seemed one-sided, but it wasn't. It was a 2-1, which again really echoes the unique style of Dewey, that it seems to be one extreme or the other, that it can seem so one-sided, even though the final result was pretty narrow as far as results on this program go. You know, let's not forget that Dewey has been in Quake Pro League for one entire stage less than Dramis. Yet Dewey started today. It's obviously not going to be the case now. Above Dramis, because it was a small amount, but it was enough to be significant. Where Dewey just looked like that cut above. But today's been a good day for Dramis, and I really think that speed was a huge factor of all of that. You know, all 3 maps he managed to get something quick, didn't he?
Definitely.
Right. Up next, actually, I've just checked out the schedule to refresh my memory. Exciting times ahead. The Maestro showdown with Razy and Wenger. They're going to go head to head at last. I think this is quite hard to call whenever these two guys clash, because they are some of the absolute highest skilled players that Quake Champions has ever had. So we can expect a good matchup. We're going to go for a break and set things up. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss it.